Some Christmas movies begin with snow. Some begin with carolers. Some begin with a warm house full of life. This one begins with a man sitting alone in a trailer with a bullet on the table and the television doing most of the talking. It's not the beginning of an action movie. It's the beginning of a George Bailey story. In this video, we're going to talk about how Lethal Weapon, yes, the one with explosions, fistfights, and holiday-appropriate machine gun fire, became one of the most unlikely modern retellings of It's a Wonderful Life. Because in a decade obsessed with image, with neon cities, fantasy suburbs, and nostalgia packaged like a theme park, this movie quietly returned to something that Hollywood had forgotten.
Architectural outcasts.
Hollywood rebuilt nostalgia, but it couldn't rebuild meaning. Until a movie about two cops, a kidnapped daughter, a desert shootout, and a fistfight on a suburban lawn quietly put meaning back into the architecture of American cinema. The film doesn't restore beauty through nostalgia. It restores beauty through goodness. Before Riggs becomes the wild card, the fighter, the man who sprints through gunfire like he's trying to get somewhere, we meet him in a space that tells the whole truth. A trailer, bare walls, a mattress, a TV that never turns off. It's not a home. It's a hollowed out container someone is sleeping in. A metal echo chamber for grief. In It's a Wonderful Life, George stares down into that dark river and wonders if the world would be a better place without him. Riggs sitting alone, his face lit by the cold blue glow of a TV he isn't watching. A home without warmth, a home without life. Riggs has become a ghost long before anyone tried to kill him. And like George, Riggs is waiting for something he doesn't know he needs, a reason to live that he can't find on his own, a hand reaching out from outside his despair, a voice saying, "Not yet, not like this, you matter, come home." That hand is Murtaugh's, and that home is just waiting across town. If Riggs begins the movie as George Bailey on the bridge, then Roger Murtaugh walks into the story already wearing Clarence's wings. Not literal wings, but the same instinct, the same moral calibration to recognize a soul on the edge and the willingness to offer the one thing that will bring it back: belonging. Warm light, breakfast chaos, people talking over each other. Murtaugh lives in a world that George Bailey would recognize instantly. A home full of noises that don't match. Hallways cluttered with life. A kitchen where love and irritation share counterspace. A family that means everything and drives you insane at the same time. It's not perfect. It's human. And that's why it matters. And Murtaugh carries that world around inside him like a man who knows exactly what he would die to protect. So when Riggs walks into his life, unshaven, unsteady, buzzing like a live wire, Murtaugh doesn't see a danger to be managed. He sees a man worth saving. Not with fear, with understanding. This is Clarence on the bridge, studying George Bailey, waiting for the moment to intervene. Although this time around, Clarence has a badge and much lower blood pressure. Murtaugh doesn't lecture. He doesn't pry. He doesn't try to fix Riggs. He does something much harder. He makes room for him, invites him into the case, into the partnership, into the banter, into the family's orbit. Quietly, naturally, without ceremony, he gives Riggs a place, the first step towards giving him a home. Because Clarence's real power in It's a Wonderful Life isn't that he shows George what the world would be like without him, but it reminds George that he belongs in the world he already has. That's Murtaugh's gift, the steady presence, the groundedness, the instinct to offer connection without asking for anything in return. Riggs is chaos, Murtaugh is gravity, and you need both for the story to work. If Riggs' trailer is despair shaped into a floor plan, the Murtaugh home is the exact opposite. It's meaning shaped into architecture. And what's beautiful about the Murtaugh house is it isn't beautiful in the magazine sense. It's lived in, slightly chaotic, audibly full of life, a home where half the conversations happen at full volume and the other half happen as somebody walks away to check on the laundry. It's a golden age home transplanted into Los Angeles. This is Bedford Falls in the suburbs, not because of the way it looks, because of what happens inside. And the film's not exactly subtle about it either. When Riggs enters the Murtaugh home for the first time, the camera lingers on the doorway, like he's crossing a threshold into an entirely different world. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't have to. The camera tells you everything you need to know. This is the first warm space he's been in since his wife died. The architecture matters because meaning lives here, because the house gives shape to every emotional turn in the film, because it shows Riggs that life can exist without pain swallowing it whole. And because when the home is threatened later, the film makes it very clear. This is what the story's about. Not the case, not the villains, not the action, but home and the family inside that home and the meaning that they share. Up until this point in the film, the emotional geometry is simple. Riggs is George Bailey on the bridge. Murtaugh is Clarence, grounded and steady, guiding a broken man back towards life. But halfway through the film, something extraordinary happens. The roles reverse. For the first time, we see the foundation under Murtaugh crack. His confidence slips, his voice shakes, his breath stumbles, and all the weight he's been carrying, family, responsibility, morality, comes crashing down around him. Now Murtaugh has become George, a good man suddenly stripped of control, terrified, pleading with a world that just doesn't care, willing to give anything to protect the people who give his life meaning. His home is no longer a sanctuary. It's under threat. And there's nothing more destabilizing to a man like Roger Murtaugh than the idea that he might fail his family. And Riggs, the man with a bullet in his pocket, the man who had no reason to get up that morning, quietly steps into the Clarence role. He becomes the steady one, the calm one, the man who pulls Murtaugh back from the brink. In It's a Wonderful Life, Clarence saves George by showing him what's worth living for. Here, Riggs saves Murtaugh by showing him the strength he forgot he had. A broken man becomes the anchor. A man on the edge becomes the guardian of somebody else's meaning. It's one of the most elegant emotional reversals in all of 80s cinema, and Hollywood probably didn't even realize what they had done. This switch matters because it reveals the core truth of the film. Meaning isn't a one-way street. It's reciprocal, shared, passed back and forth between people who refuse to allow each other to fall. Lethal Weapon takes place during Christmas. Everybody knows that. It's a meme at this point. What everybody misses is why it matters. Christmas in the film isn't a backdrop. It's architecture. It creates a moral and emotional environment the same way Bedford Falls' snow-covered streets holds George Bailey in place even when he wants to run. Christmas in Lethal Weapon is the contrast point between the world Riggs lives in and the world he's being invited into. George Bailey had the same moment, standing in the living room, surrounded by symbols he no longer feels connected to. Both men are spiritually absent in a season built for belonging. On the other hand, there's the Murtaugh house. Christmas is alive there, not because of the decorations, because the people give the season meaning. It's not curated, it's not aesthetic, it's relational. Christmas here is the architecture of redemption, the season where people try again, forgive again, and open their doors just a little bit wider. Which is why the movie chooses this season for Riggs' return to life. You don't save a man like Riggs with a lecture. You save him by showing him a holiday that's still capable of carrying goodness even after the world has tried to hollow it out. Even the violence is framed in Christmas irony, a reminder that despair and hope can occupy the same space until one chooses to win. In Lethal Weapon, Christmas lights blinking on a cheap trailer and a warm house across town frame the same journey. It's a place where despair meets mercy, where broken people choose each other, and where the world offers a second chance to those who don't think they deserve one. And that's exactly the space where the story's about to turn. When the villains finally strike, they don't attack a precinct, a city landmark, a high-tech 80s fortress. They attack the one place that matters, the Murtaugh home. Not the plot point, not the MacGuffin, the meaning. Because if earlier scenes established the Murtaugh home as Bedford Falls in miniature, this scene shows it under threat, and how far these two men will go to protect the one thing that gives their lives purpose. This isn't random violence, it's symbolic violence. The world trying to break the center of meaning. Just as Mr. Potter tried to break George Bailey by threatening the very community he loves, Joshua tries to break Murtaugh by defiling the space that defines him. Here's the key. Riggs responds like a man whose life depends upon that house, that home, surviving. Because it does. This home is the only place where he's glimpsed real belonging, real warmth, real life. If the world takes it away, he loses the last lifeline he has left. So he runs, broken body, broken mind, sprinting like an angel who's finally found a purpose. The suburban street is silent. The Christmas lights blink indifferently. Neighbors peer out of windows. The police arrive but stand aside. Helicopters circle overhead like bored spectators. The entire modern world, the institutions, the imagery, the suburban polish are all present and irrelevant. This is the film's thesis distilled down into one image. The modern world can watch meaning, but only people can defend it. George Bailey fought to save his community from Mr. Potter. Riggs and Murtaugh fight to save their family from Joshua. The stakes are identical. The fight is symbolic, and the architecture is the same. A home worth protecting, a world worth living in, a meaning worth dying for. The violence isn't the point. The choice is the point. The choice to defend what matters, even when the rest of the world seems content to stand on the sidewalk and spectate. Every George Bailey story has a moment where a man chooses life. Sometimes it's loud, dramatic, snow falling on a bridge as an angel in a secondhand suit makes the case for hope. And sometimes it's quiet. A man standing in a suburban yard, rain in his hair, gun in his waistband, reaching into his pocket for the one object that has been pulling him towards the edge since the day his world fell apart. The bullet, the one he saved, the one he polished, the one he rehearsed with, the one symbol that he's kept, and he gives it away. Not as confession, not as apology, but a gift. A symbol of a decision that he's made, a decision he could have never made alone. This is the moment beauty returns, not through lighting, nor nostalgia, nor some other visual trick of the 80s. Beauty returns because Riggs chose meaning over despair, because a home proved to be stronger than grief, because two men fought for something worth living for. Turns out, the best Christmas presents don't always fit under the tree. Hollywood didn't lose beauty by accident. It lost beauty because it lost meaning. Golden Age architecture mattered because homes, streets, towns, and newsrooms were expressions of a living community. Beauty grew out of belonging, out of relationships, memory, duty, love. Post-war Hollywood traded that world for glass, steel, ego, and image. The 60s and 70s fell into alienation. The 80s and 90s rebuilt the surface without the foundation. And then came Lethal Weapon. A movie, without realizing it, returned to the one source that made cinematic beauty possible in the first place: meaning. A home where people matter, a family worth fighting for, two men who save each other, and a Christmas season strong enough to hold the weight of a broken world. Beauty returns because a man who had given up on life found somebody who cared if he lived or died, because a home opened its door, because meaning re-entered the frame. Riggs' trailer is modernist despair, a structure without a soul. The Murtaugh home is Golden Age architecture, a place where love gives shape to space. When Riggs chooses life, beauty follows. And when Murtaugh opens his door, meaning becomes architecture again. This is the heart of the entire argument. Beauty isn't created by design. Beauty is revealed by love. Maybe that's the real miracle of this movie. Not that an action film became a Christmas classic, but that without ever saying it, they found their way back to the place where the Golden Age started from. A man chooses life, a family chooses him back, and a home waits with the lights on. At any rate, I hope I've given you all something to think about, and until next time, y'all be safe. If y'all are still here, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. While you're at it, why don't you like this video, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell. You can hear me yammer on about something else next time. And feel free to share this video far and wide.
Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment.